Hello everyone, Zellerant here, and for today's video on Umamusume, we're going to be taking a look at the next CM that is going to be Virgo Cup, now that we've just finished up day 2 of round 2 of Leo Cup. This will be our very first CM going into Grand Live, and oh boy, is this one going to be a fun one. If you've already probably heard from other people, this one is going to be Christmas Ogre Cap Cup / potentially Copano Ricky. But it is a dirt race. So the very first one for Grand Live being a dirt race, it will be on the Oi dirt track, 2,000 meter medium track. It'll be right-handed, good conditions, autumn and sunny. Now, do not let this 2,000 meters trick you into thinking that you don't need a lot of stamina here, like we have seen in previous ones. And we'll talk about the reasons for that here in a second. But one of the nice things here right off the bat, it is right-handed and fall. So fine motion, having both of the speed greens on her will be very nice for people trying to get those on there for the extra speed. Now, when it comes to actually taking a look at the race track itself, so this one is going to be Christmas Ogre Cap domination, like we've seen in the past. Being the 2,000 meter, 777s works very well here. But as well as Agnes Tachyon's ult, or U equals MA squared, I believe is the name of it. Both of those will get her speed and acceleration carryover, which will make her very, very strong here and very, very consistent. And then also on top of that, to get her ult off, she needs a bunch of heals, which this track you're going to need a lot of. This one is going to be the first one of Grand Live, where you're going to have the first occurrence of really seeing what it's like to have stamina problems again, like with the URA. But this one in particular, one thing you'll see right off the bat in the track, there is no downhill or uphill on it. So all the heals that require downhills or uphills do not work at all. So Goldship can't use hers. It's dirt, so unless you like really love Goldship and want to do it, you're not going to bring her anyway. But none of those there. But one of the other things that you might not really think of without the downhills is you're not getting to take advantage of downhills to conserve stamina. So stamina is going to be a lot harsher here on that respect. Plus the fact that we now have Summer Goldship available. Debuffs are going to be way more rampant, as she's going to make the activation of those debuffs way more consistent. Mystifying Murmur being a big one on this because of stamina. And it's going to be very difficult to get through that. Now, if we want to take a... before we get to looking at why stamina is going to be a problem here, some of the... thinking of the accelerations that are going to work on this track, it's your typical late race corner skills for your front runners. Of course, you have your angling and scheming. Now, OG Maruzenski's doesn't work because that would be down here. Taiki Shuttles doesn't work. But a good old angling and scheming works very well here. For paces, of course, you're going to have Christmas Ogre Cap being the main one with her own ult. Now, her inherit isn't, like, trying to inherit on someone else is not going to be good at all in that respect. It's all in on Christmas Ogre Cap if you want to take advantage of her Excel and speed carryover. Then, of course, you have No Stopping Me, which will be very strong here as a gamble, or Nimble Nav. I would not take, personally, the Yukino Bijin card for your No Stopping Me. If the Uma doesn't have it built in, I would just deal with having Nimble Nav, getting it off of an inspiration. Then of course you have Major Orion, Major Dober for your back enders. And especially if you're wanting to build like a late Christmas Ogre Cap, who can take advantage of 777s, but we'll want those backup accelerations to activate here. And so then when it comes to your speed skills, you got a lot of generic speed skills. We're starting to get so many of them, it's hard to kind of cover all of them. But some of my favorite ones that you're going to see being a typical one that I say all the time, as they are very good speed skills for the end of the race to really help you. Of course, you have like Fuji Kiseki, now that has a buffed ult. You have TM Opera O. Those are just generically good for pretty much every Uma, as their positioning's not as strict as, say, something like Triumphant Pulse. But Triumphant Pulse still very strong amongst the others, Simbali, Rudolph, and all those that can work. So, tons of speed skills, and you can kind of go through them and look at their conditions, but it's a lot of these speed skills that are going to be like second half of, or the late corner ones here, or the last straightaways like Fuji Kiseki's. Now, when it comes to stamina, it is going to be a big problem here. Now, and one thing before I get to that too, stamina, luckily, on this one, is one of the stat thresholds. And so you do want to target 900 stamina, not only to survive, but also for the stat threshold. But I have a little demo here to kind of show why stamina is going to be a very big issue on this track, especially for non-Christmas Ogre Caps when it comes to building her. Right now, I've got a lot of greens on her because I was showcasing Kopano Riki as well. You can use them on Christmas Ogre Cap here as well. But I have her main heals here. We have U equals MA2, Corner Recovery, 777s, and Gourmand. These are all built in other than Corner Recovery. Of course, if you have Agnes Tachyon as your parent, you get her ult, or you get it off of a grandparent. But with this build and 800 stamina, with all of these, just one Mystifying Murmur debuffer that you go against brings her all the way down in this scenario, on this track, to only an 88% survival rate. And that's with Gourmand, and then her ult also has a heal in it. So it's going to be very, very stamina intensive on this. So you take her up to 900, which you're going to want anyway for the stats, for the extra speed that it gives. And you're still not at 100% here. So, I've moved it bad. Okay. It's still, okay, I left it on bad there. It's still a little bit lower there. Yeah, it's 3% here, but if you take it down to 750, I think 750 was the example I used. 86% here. This is with one debuffer. Just, you gotta take note of that. This is one debuffer. Bringing multiple Mystifying Murmurs is going to be a very popular strategy here. And because we do have Summer Gold Ship, it will activate way more consistently because it's basically just a wit check with Summer Gold Ship versus her having the condition to being, I believe, blocked or whatnot to activate it before that. And so just getting that extra stamina, just shoot for that 900. That'll make you get the stat bonus or the speed bonus, plus more survivable on Christmas Ogre Cap. Remember, Christmas Ogre Cap right now has to use, we have 4 heals. We have Corner Recovery, Gourmand, 777s, U equals MA2, and Festive Miracle has a heal. The other strong one, Kopano Riki here, same scenario as a Pace Chaser, which is, to me, what she'll be stronger as on this track. At 900, still has same survivability here, but you're taking a lot of heals on her when she unnecessarily needs it. But if you take it down a little bit, it starts to tank very, very quickly. And then if you like completely take Gourmand off here, you have something like this on the whites, like Christmas Ogre. I mean, as you can see, it starts dropping dramatically. Now, realistically, you could instead, you're not going to want to take 4 heals on something like her. You would take 2 golds over 4 whites, and then she would definitely be more survivable. But just know that stamina and keeping it up will be a major concern on this track. Now, with that, one of the things that I've been looking at kind of theory crafting when it comes to build a deck for this track, I've got kind of some support cards here. Now, there's 7 of them showing here. We'll kind of talk about that here, but you only can take 6 of them, of course. One of the things a lot of people, especially if you have her, is that you're going to want to try and fit in Super Creek. One, if you need the heal, of course. If your Uma doesn't have a heal built in, if you're not going with like Christmas Ogre Cap, or of course Kopano Riki, she's going to be the one to help you top up that stamina. That gives you the problem of not being able to use the typical Grand Live deck, which is going to be 3 speed, Light Hello, and 2 wit. And so you basically replace one of your speeds with Super Creek. In this deck here, the 3 speeds that I'll typically be using for most runs, if I go a 3 speed Light Hello wit deck, is going to be Agnes Tachyon, Madizensky, and Kita-san Black. Now, one thing someone mentioned for whale potential, like if you have all these cards, and you can exclude Kita-san Black, you could go with the high roll deck of Agnes Tachyon, Madizensky, Super Creek, Fine Motion, and Tokai Teo. You can kind of replace Fine Motion to a certain extent here with another big wit card. But if you want to exclude Kita-san Black for that high roll, you want Tokai Teo Wit. She has Professor of Curvature. For most people, she'll be the main borrow. But if you've been pulling pretty strategically, it is possible to actually have this full deck, depending on how your Agnes Attack and Light Hello pulls go. And you've really just got to hopefully lean into and get lucky on Super Creek to pull off that kind of stamina. But yeah, as someone's mentioning here, you do probably want Fine Motion because she does have Nimble Navigator, right-handed, and Fall Runner. She's the core Wit card. But this is the main deck that I'll be going with here. I'll probably try it with Kitasan Black to kind of get a generic starting one and then try and high roll it with the other deck. But this is kind of what you're looking at for a whale type deck here. It's because being able to take Super Creek in there just to help top up that stamina, potentially give you 2 heals. Because, I mean, there's even the idea, if you get a fast learner run, that to play it, if you can get a fast learner run, you could take your Christmas Ogre Cap. And you could go Corner Recovery, or you can go Swinging Maestro and Gourmand. I can just remove those. We can add Swinging Maestro. And so this is what you would arrive up here if you bring in Swinging Maestro with Super Creek, get lucky with a fast learner. And now you can have 2 gold heals, which will definitely make you have way more survivability on her. But, I mean, this is going to be very skill point intensive to take 2 golds. Now, there is another strategy with heals that we've kind of looked at being another high-rolly way that you can approach this. But it kind of conflicts with some of the ways you might build your Umas here. But just something to take note of. Is this something very useful for Christmas Ogre Cap in general now? And that is if you get the event where you can get, what is it, a Sasami or whatever her name is shows up, and you have all the options where you can get Charming. One of her options, the second option, gives you the ability to potentially get both straightaway recovery and corner recovery 100% for free, meaning no skill point cost, you just get them. Problem is, you just get them, and so you have to deal with them as being 2 of your heals. Now, straightaway recovery now is a good mid-race heal, but it doesn't work in this scenario. But it saves you basically 300 potential skill points. And so if you were trying to work with this, you would drop Gourmand here, and you would have something like straightaway recovery. And as someone else has mentioned, a card I wouldn't really want to use because it's very weak. But if you can high roll it, you could, with that event, plus Tosin Jordan Speed, which is the free card we got before Trackblazer, you can get Breath of Fresh Air. And because you got corner recovery and straightaway recovery completely free, these are basically, they're not nearly as expensive as they would be normally. And so that could be considered kind of a high roll in the same way that a fast learner run is a high roll. But as someone's mentioned, you got to bring 3 speed cards in this situation. You bring 3, but now you have 2 gold heals. So there's a lot of different options of trying to get those high rolls. Just making sure that you can make yourself survivable here. Because one of the things that might just outright win you a lot of runs, if you go with double Mystifying Murmur and Christmas Ogre Cap, if you're just the only one that survives, it doesn't matter if you, like, if your acceleration sucks or you miss a lot of other speed skills. If you survive from the stamina, if you survive all the stamina debuffs and they don't, you win. It is going to be a surviving survivorship cup. It's not going to be a fun one. A lot of people are going to hate it, and that's just the nature of this one. Now, there's always the potential they could change it. They could put in a ban on debuffs. They have done it in future scenarios on the JP version or future CMs. They very well could do it here. I don't expect it, but there's always something they could do. But yeah, this is going to be a pretty bad CM. It's just Ogre Cap Cup because she's going to be the easiest to build. But you could do some. You can also do something like Swinging Maestro, Breath of Fresh Air on your Kopano Riki to make her a lot more survivable, or whoever your favorite Uma is. Mayano Top Gun, she's Dirt E, and she has one of hers has Breath of Fresh Air built in, and then you could put Swinging Maestro on her, and now you have 2 golds. Get her up to that 900 stamina, and she's very survivable as well. There's a lot of options you have there. just know it's debuff hell. And that's just Virgo Cup. That's what it's going to be. Probably going to be the most hated. I think more hated than Aries Cup with the double Dominators. At least you had a chance against the Dominators. They slowed you down, but you still could win outright. This one, if you just run out of stamina, you just lose. Unless everybody runs out of stamina. Alright, and so with that now, the last part. I keep talking about these debuffers. Now we're going to talk about how you can look at building them yourself as the best way to beat your opponents that have debuffers, to have your own. As much as it sucks, yes, bringing your own is the best counter to dealing with debuffers. And on this one, it's Mystifying Murmur Umas. And so, as we already know with the Summer Gold Ship that dropped, she is very key to building these debuffers. But you don't need her. The debuffers won't be too hard to build. But Summer Gold Ship, you want to basically, there's two ways you can approach it. The easiest way is, of course, just borrow somebody that has a decent gold ship. There's a few good ones out there with a bunch of debuffs in their inherits to get her ults off, which basically has a random second half of the race activate any gold skill. And of course, in this case, it's Mystifying Murmur, which you're going to want to put on your two debuffers. There's 3 Umas that have it. The main one everyone has, of course, is Nice Nature with Mystifying Murmur. And then you have the other 2, which is Wedding Mayano Top Gun or Super Quick Halloween. If you have one of these 2, hopefully you have one of these 2, you are set up for your going double Mystifying Murmur. If you don't have either one of these, then you can just bring a Dominator alongside your Mystifying Murmur Uma. And so how the biggest thing you have to take into consideration with them is one thing, discussing with chat here, is, and we'll kind of use Mayano Top Gun as an example, is this is a dirt track, and all of them are bad at dirt. Mayano Top Gun is the best at dirt E. The other 2 are dirt G. Gold Ship's ult is a second half of the race activation. Now, it's not at the second half of the race. It's at some point after the second half of the race. And so to get the most value or the highest potential that you get this off in time to actually have an impact on your opponents is you want to give them dirt sparks. Now, I've heard differing opinions on where you want to get dirt. Dirt C/dirt D, I think, is the big consensus. I'll be trying to get as high as I can on the dirt. You're going to make them an end closer, so they're going to be in the back pretty much anyway, regardless. If you get this all the way to dirt A, they should still be at the very back to hit everybody, especially the strongest Christmas Ogre Cap, which mostly will be pace chasers, maybe late surgers, depending on what people want to build. And so getting dirt sparks on them is going to be very key to make sure they are able to keep up. If you have dirt G on Nice Nature, she's going to be at the back of the race. If you remember Udara from when people were building the dirt or the turf G, long G Udara that would just chill in the very back of Gemini Cup and that to try and kill off Narita Taishins. The same thing will happen here, but in a bad case. You're gonna hit the half point of the race too late, to the point that the race will be over more times than not before you get Mystifying Murmur to activate. So just take note, get as many dirt sparks as you can into them. Luckily, debuffers don't care about getting medium S, so the fact that you're taking a bunch of dirt sparks doesn't matter. They just care about being able to get up into the half race at the midpoint, and then you're good to go. It'll activate at some point from there. Now, if you're in that situation where you don't have, if you don't have Mayano Top Gun or Mummy Creek, and you only have Nice Nature for your Mystifying Murmur, then of course you're going to want to now go and build a second Dominator Uma. So that way you can take advantage of the Dominator. If you survive and your opponent survives, you can have hopefully the speed advantage on them. With Summer Gold Ship now, we have the ability to do basically, I like to call it double Dom, but it's not really 2 Doms, but it's Dominator and Keen Eye in this situation. In that you will take the Gold City support card, which I don't have this one ready here. If you have to borrow it, you have to borrow it. It doesn't matter. I mean, you're building a debuffer. The other support cards really don't matter too much other than getting your other debuffs on there. So, of course, you have all those. But you just make sure you have Gold City for Keen Eye. And if If you don't have it, you borrow it. If you have it limit break 0, that's fine. You just need to have it to get Keen Eye. And Gold Chip, basically how it works, Gold Chip's alt inherit will activate Keen Eye for you to get the speed decrease from Keen Eye. And then, of course, you will get Dominate from the other Umas. So just take like any one of them. I mean, support cards now. Simbali Rudolph. Typically my favorite to do it with. You just bring her in. You have Keen Eye and Dominator. Only 2 golds. And then get all the whites that you can get. And this is on both your Mystifying Murmurs and your Dominator if you have to build one. So you want to get everything you can on here. Simbali Rudolph being good. She has Subdued Late Surgers, a stamina debuff on her herself. And then you just try and get pretty much all the other whites that you can. The most important being, of course, Subdueds. Subdueds all being on the rare Simbali Rudolph Wit. I like using this one. Some people might say use the stamina one, as it has, the stamina one has all the same debuffs on it, all the subdueds, but it does have a hint bonus, hint frequency, and hint levels to try and get them a little bit quicker. But it's a stamina card, and I like wit card just for the simple fact of being able to get my wit as high as I can, bringing like 4 wit cards. There's a bunch of other wit cards in the mix too for the other debuffs. But that's kind of the key things, is the subdueds alongside of that. And of course, you have the mix of hesitates, the slow down. Biggest one being like hesitate pace. And got like hesitate front, lates, and all those. Kind of just a mix of the cards as needed there. Muteki being a good one to get, I believe, both the lates on it. She just gets it right off the bat on her first for late surgers. Just a healthy mix of all of them. And of course, a lot of the borrows out there, try and look for a gold chip that has. Now you may need to get dirt sparks if you don't have your own dirt. You can get them off one of these borrows out here for gold chip. But look for the ones that have been built around having all the debuffs, unless you've already done it yourself and have your own. But that is the simple fact for debuffers. The biggest thing is making sure you have enough dirt sparks that they're able to keep up with the pack and activate their gold skills in a timely manner, to actually have an impact and not just chilling at the back and doing it too late. But that's pretty much it for the debuffers. And if you do that, you should have at least some wins. Like I was mentioning, this CM is going to be hell. One thing that'll throw a kink into it, especially leading up to the finals, is the mood. I mean, you're just gonna have to deal randomly. You're gonna have bad mood, so it's going to reduce your stats and then your stamina overall if you bring it down. Right now we're at 99. 2 heals on this one, so it'll still probably be survivable. But if you only have a white with 1 gold, the bad mood could be a difference maker. I mean, in this one I have that pretty healthy, I think, in other ways. But it could be an impact. So just something to take note. It's going to suck. This CM is going to be one of the more brutal ones, and this is going to be fairly normal for mediums, especially in Grand Life, where stamina is a very tricky stat to get. You're going to be trying to chase that new max speed, plus trying to get over 1200 power for the new power mechanics, and thus stamina kind of gets forgotten, but it's absolutely 100% necessary if you want to win. But that will be pretty much it. And yeah, if you like my content, if you can like, comment, subscribe, it really helps. And thanks for watching.